Hey guys, welcome to another voiceover tutorial. My name is Sakimichan, and this voiceover tutorial I will be going over hair and how to paint it. A lot of you have requested for this tutorial. You guys wanted to know how to determine light source on the hair or just how to emulate that hair texture and such. So I've prepared 3 head models. I did this one first, the girl right here, and then I just duplicated her and then changed up her look to have more variation of another female figure and a male figure and a male elf figure for fun. So feel free to use this head as you guys follow along. You can follow the steps and do exactly what I'm about to teach you guys, and hopefully it'll be very useful to you guys. Okay, let's start. So here I have indicated a list of brushes that I normally use for hair voiceover tutorials. You guys should have these as long as you downloaded my brushes every term. So if not, then there will be links to the brushes where you can download them all, and you will find these brushes. The first one, okay, let's start with this girl first. So for the brushes, the first one, if you hover your pen tool here and you press the bottom button on your tablet pen, you'll open this window right here, and this is this brush that we will be using. The second brush will be notice that there's 2 brushes. The first one is for freckles, but the second one is for hair. And if you guys take a look, it has some nice hair-ish texture. And I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like in the brush settings. I have transfer on, and if you go to brush tip shape, you'll notice that the spacing is 1%. That's why it gives this nice smooth effect without any spacing in between. If you put up the spacing, it'll look like this. So we gotta make sure the spacing is at 1%. That's how I got that brush to look the way it is. The third one is kind of like a bunch of dots together. It looks like this, but when you paint with it, it looks like hair strands. And the setting for that brush is very similar. Transfer on, sharp dynamics, just turned on the pressure slightly with control to pen pressure, and brush tip shape as well, 1%, so that there's no space in between. If you turn it on, you'll see that there's little speckles everywhere. This would be great for freckles, by the way. And the last 2 is one of my old favorites. It's the rake brush. They look like a line with little dots aligned, and both of them pretty much have the same effect except they're angled differently, so these give very nice hair texture as well, and we will be using them. And if you go in here, their setting is pretty much the same thing. Transfer tip, brush tip shape, spacing to 1% as well, and if you take that off, it'll be little dots. So gotta keep that at 1%. Alright, now that I went through the basic brush combo, let's start with some hair. And usually, if you are new to this and if you want to have a general idea what to go for, I would always recommend just go on Google, look up a reference, and for that purpose I found a reference on Google. So I just went and Googled long hair and it gave me this, and I kind of like the hairstyle. We're gonna try to base it off of this, and we're gonna observe how it is on the picture and try to emulate something similar on her head as well. So first off first, we must, if you are starting out, it's always good to kind of indicate the hairline. So let's see her hairline. I guess we could do like this. Kind of looks like a monk, but so that will be her hairline. Once you indicate it, you can start to kind of just paint from it. So I'm using this brush here, the standard round brush, because I just want to block out the general shape. So you can start doing that, and keep in mind the hair isn't exactly skin tight to the skull, so feel free to kind of just paint over it slightly, like the hair's got volume, that sort of sense. So just gonna turn off the reference picture for now, and gonna do just paint a silhouette. And again, I'm using a medium-sized round brush. At this point, you don't need to worry about little details. You just want to block in the general shape. So something like this. Actually, I want her other eye to show. Let's see the reference real fast. Okay, looks like that. So in the reference, you kind of see that her hair is kind of feathered out like this, and the back of her head, and then it keeps, and then her hair kind of falls down her nape to her shoulder. So there we go. Alright, so we've got a general shape going on of what her hair will be like. And of course, it's a rough shape. Now I just changed my brush size to a slightly smaller size just to get in some of that smaller detail. It's always good to have a variation of dark patches of hair and then small strands. That's kind of just on the side or up here as well. But keep in mind, don't overdo it or she'll look like she has a rat's nest for hair. Alright, so have something pretty general here. Okay. And I'm gonna flip my canvas real fast to see if I got the shape right. So flipping the canvas can help you see errors or problems. Usually the thing to be careful about painting hair is that you might get one side more hair heavy than the other side, and you won't notice it because you're used to it when you're painting on that side specifically. But if you flip it over, you will be able to see some difference, and that might help. So I'm flipping it back. Alright. By the way, the last couple of voiceover tutorials that I did, I had a different mic. That's why the quality wasn't very good, and I apologize for that. I finally got my good mic back, so hopefully my voice will be clearer to hear from now on. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, so I just went and kind of just colored everything in. Okay, so first steps first. I'm also going to kind of save my progress so that you guys can take a look after in step-by-step mode. So I'm just going to kind of drag these steps over here. create a bigger canvas so we can get all the steps in. Oh, oops. Okay. Gonna create a folder for her. Girl steps. Put her in, and then this is the first step, blocking in the shape pretty much. I can write that down real fast as well. Blocking in shape. Actually, I'm gonna have to save this in case it crashes. Hair step. Alright, done that. Okay, the next step, we will just go into this layer here and we're gonna lock it by pressing the little rectangle, and again we're gonna use this brush. And then we're gonna just pick a slightly darker tone and we're gonna start just shading in the texture. So without taking note of the light source, I'm just gonna shade the texture of the hair. So let's just use small strokes, very light, and just create that hair texture. Notice that I'm leaving somewhat of a space in between the shadow layering, just to emulate the highlights, and I'll have one down here as well. So leave one up here and leave one down here. I'm leaving those areas because that's where I predict the highlight might be, so we're just gonna leave those open, and as well we're gonna leave a space between this area because here will also be somewhat of a highlight area, and of course we'll leave some space here as well. So there's highlight here, here, and here because these are the 3 points where the hair is kind of popping out or there's a deformation. So every time there's a deformation, there will be somewhat of a highlight area and the shadow area. So these are the 3 areas. And then I'm gonna just continue down here, and here you can see that we have like a hair bulge, so we gotta have the highlight high point here around where the bulge is most I sound so dirty where the hair is bulging out the most. And then we go down here and again apply one last bit of highlight texture thingy. Alright, so now we have something like this, and you can kind of see a general feel for where the highlight is without actually emphasizing on the highlight. Excuse me. And I'm going to just move this over again to the steps so it's clear. And then this is number 2. Just gonna indicate what this is. Alright, let's go back to here. So here's where the reference comes in. If you take a look at her hair, you'll see that the sun is kind of hitting in this area, and you can see where the highlight is most intense on her hair. So we have to try to emulate that on her hair. So imagine the highlight is coming from above here. So that means her head well, her upper hair part will be most highlighted. So let's go for that. Go into the color palette, pick the lightest color that we have on her hair and move that up. I'm gonna choose a more desaturated lighter tone like this, and again using the same old brush, we're just going to emulate that highlight. So just paint that on there. And then again, the sun will be hitting this area as well. So gotta put the other highlight up here. You'll notice that I'm not putting highlight everywhere on her hair. That's because the hair's got some crevices the way it flows on your head. So only the most high point of the hair gets hit, while when her hair dips here, it doesn't catch the highlight, but it catches the highlight again on this side as it dips up. So this is the high point of the hair, and you'll want to get the most highlight on that point. So that's pretty much that. And we can of course add a bit of highlight here as well, because imagine the light hit here where it kind of pops out, and then here as well. It kind of, this area is deformed, and this bend of a hair right here, I feel like is something that's popping out the most. So we're just gonna put that there, and just a bit of highlight here because the shadow is casting mostly on her head, so we just want a slight bit of highlight on these areas. And then you can put some random ones here and there, but try not to overdo it. And we have a general guide of where the highlight will be. Whoops. Alright, now we can keep going with the highlight. I'm gonna pick a even lighter color and just going to apply it slightly on top. Oops, sorry about that, that's the phone. Gosh damn it. Be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back. Let's continue on with the highlights. So I just dabble it a little bit. And now that we have a rough guide of where the shadow and where the highlight is, just going to put this on the step again. I'll write the captions later. So now just going to go into the brushes and start blending them in with our hair textured brushes. The first one you can try is this one right here. And let's just try it out. As you can see, it's a little bit heavy on the heavy side. Just make sure your strokes are very light and just kind of blend that in. I'm using the eyedrop tool at the same time. So as you can see, it's starting to smooth out. And we want to still keep the high point in the center there. Just want to blend in the rest. So just blend it in slightly like this. And it might take some time for you guys to get used to it, but once you're used to it, you can pretty much do it quite fast, like something technical. And don't be afraid to kind of just blend in some of those smaller highlights. Okay, now it's kind of blended in. I will put that, oh gosh. Okay, put that there. Oh, oops. Two, three, four. Oops. Oh, whoops. I think I hit her face. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we have blended in those highlighted areas. We can add more highlights. So now we're gonna go into the round brush, make the size a lot bigger. Sorry, excuse me. About this size. Enough to cover kind of her whole upper hair part, and just decrease the softness setting to 0. So I pretty much just changed the solid round brush into an airbrush, and now we're going to the brush mode and put it on overlay, and we're going to select a very bright color like this that is kind of in the same warm tone family as the hair, and just kind of brush it on very softly. We don't want to over exaggerate, just softly onto her hair. Like that. And maybe make it slightly more intense around this area. Now we're gonna turn this off, and we're just gonna use the airbrush just to airbrush up here real fast, and kind of airbrush down here slightly and over here as well, just very softly here as well, just a slight bit. And then we're gonna make the hardness setting go into 100% once again, and decrease the size to that of kind of hair strand size, and we're just going to blend that in. This is a slightly different technique that I usually use, and it gives really nice results. So just kind of try to create a different type of strand without covering up the highlight entirely to create that nice soft highlight, hair highlight. Here as well. Alright, so now it's looking a lot softer. We're not finished here. We have a good basic hair base. Sorry about that. My choice of words is poor. Anyway, so we got a good base going on. Just make another layer on top, and we're gonna start doing strands. So we're just going to kind of randomize the strands a little more. So maybe there's a strand that goes like this, and make sure you input the highlight and blend that in. And then just continue it down with the highlight, kind of matching where the previous highlight is. And then here as well. So now we're just focusing on building hair strands. First pick a dark color and kind of indicate where the strand is, and then add the highlights like so. Here as well we could do that. So the strand will be there. We've gotten some highlight, trying to match the highlight up there. And the highlight up here. We're just going to offset the highlight slightly so it doesn't blend in with the original. So it doesn't blend in exactly with the base. So if we zoom out, we'll start to see kind of random hair strands here and there. We can add another one, follow the shadow, and we can kind of have some hanging off here and here. Another hair patch here. Again, trying to kind of stay in the general area of where the highlight underneath this patch, where the highlight of that patch is, and just offset it slightly here as well. Usually you'll want to kind of offset some of the hair patches where it's covering a large area of the same highlight, and you just want to offset it slightly. Like this. And just keep going with different sizes and different pretty much different sizes and different hair strands. So I'm just tapering it into a slightly thinner hair strand. So before, after, it's just slightly more messier. It feels a lot more natural because now we're starting to get a little bit of texture in there, and that's always good. So just keep adding those random hair strands. And again, if you have trouble with hair, always good to look up a reference. So as you can see, her hair is kind of going in like a more organic flow. So that's what I'm trying to emulate here in her hair right here. Oops. So gotta think organic. Or you could, you guys could look at your own hair. That could also help. So just trying to get some of that organic feeling. Offsetting the highlight on her head slightly. Like that, and adding a bit of some more hair strands on the top of her hair. Okay, so I think this is a good stopping point. So So in the end, it should look something like this. You offsetting some of that hair strand, making it flow more organically. So after you're satisfied with what you have, usually I would merge my layer down so it's one single layer. Because that is easier to work with. Now I'm going to add some shadow. So the shadow is pretty much where do you think the hair is casting shadow onto? Here, of course, underneath this big wavy thingy, wavy hair thingy, and then underneath hair, the face is kind of casting a shadow, or the hair is casting a shadow. And of course, here is a dip, so it's casting a shadow. And hair especially. But don't be too crazy with the shadow, just very subtly add that in. Okay. Just gonna fix her hair slightly. So this is the reason why I like having everything on one layer, is if I feel like her hair is a bit weirdly shaped or I overdid it, I can always just go over there and kind of just delete the areas. Now we're gonna flip it to see if everything's good. Everything looks pretty alright. Now that I kinda cleaned up this area, I'm just going to add back some of that hair strand with a slightly smaller brush. Here as well, and just picking up some of that color on the side so that when I do add the extra strands, the color is similar. And now you can go on and start adding strand highlights. Just a bit of highlight here and there on the strands. Just creating some smaller highlights. Highlight here, just very subtly with a slightly brighter color. Here as well. Alright, so now if we zoom out, we can kind of feel the little strands more, and that gives it that hair looking texture. So add some more highlight onto the random strands. Just add very small amount of highlight, not too much, because then the hair will have another color entirely. Okay. So now it's becoming more hairy. Haha, pun intended. Pun intended. Okay. So we've used these two brushes so far. Now we can try to use this brush right here, the one with the little dots, just to refine that hair texture. Just pick up the highlight color and drag it down slightly. We don't want to overdo it because then it won't look or have the same effect. Just wanna apply a small amount of this brush onto the highlight. So just kind of blend it in softly. Okay. Now we could start kind of editing this hair. Just gonna drag that step over here. Save in case my computer crashes. Alright, so now again we're gonna go back to the airbrush and apply some more general highlight, this time with a lighter color and with the mode set to soft light. Just we want to highlight the top of our head the most because that's where the light is casting the most, and just a small amount on the sides. We can even select a darker color to kind of emphasize the shadow more. So I'm putting some shadow on this side because the light is hitting the right side, so the left side logically should be a bit darker, as if it's in shadow. And that's pretty much how it is. And now we're gonna make another layer, and this time I'm going to be adding a bit of rim light. So rim light is a third-party light source that just hits the side of your character. It's very, very small and usually more intense than the general light source, so we gotta make sure that it's sticking kinda to the edges, and we want to start painting, highlighting the edges with this rim light here. So again, trying to just stick to the silhouette of the hair strands here. And of course this area as well. So just emulate that hair texture with smaller strokes. So my rim light will mostly be on the the left side, because the highlight is on the right side. So we don't want to have two competing light sources together. Usually the rim light would be on the opposite side of where the general light source is coming from, to kind of make it slightly more dynamic and balanced out. So now if we zoom out, it feels like there's a light casting. I'm just going to put a rim light on her face so it matches. Now that we have that, since we have this on a separate layer, we can use the erase brush and just slightly erase some of that to kind of blend that in. So now we have the rim light on this side. But wait, it's not done. Go into the hard brush and turn down the hardness to make an airbrush, and select whatever color you use for rim light. Let's make it slightly orangish and make the mode, put it to overlay, and just softly kind of go over it like this. So this creates a nice glow. And of course we want to put it here as well. Put that glow, the same glow on her face as well, so that it's even. Oops. Alright, now we have a good highlight going on here. So now, after you're satisfied with this, we can also merge that down so it's one layer. With the original base, we have to focus on the roots. Yep, gotta fix the roots because it's looking rough there. We can go back and select the hairbrushy texture, the one with the little dots, and just kind of emulate how the hair will connect to the skull, like this. This creates a nice little texture. And you can kind of erase, use a airbrush eraser and just erase it slightly so it feels more blended in. And now we're going to just erase slightly here because we have the her skull is showing a little bit. If you look at your own hair, you'll see that line, that hairline. And just blending it in with the brush, with the little dots. But I'm doing it very slightly to make sure that I'm not overdoing it, because then it won't look as good. But you guys feel free to experiment. And I'm gonna extend the highlight over here. And I'm going to try to paint the highlight in slightly. So just extending some of that highlight over to the more darker areas. And I can also kind of add really thin strands that goes down, just for additional detail, but not going overboard with it. Alright, so now that we have a decent hair, now we got all the nice hair strand and everything, just gonna do one last edit. Go into the burn tool, make sure the range is in mid-tone. It's very similar to shadow, just adding some more shadow, because I really want this to stand out. So now we have a very basic hair, pretty basic. Another thing I do is sometimes I would kind of just select underneath one hair patch and go using a airbrush, just airbrush the shadow down. So you can see this patch of hair is casting a shadow now. And it creates some variation from the big patch of hair going on here, and just want to make it more variant. Alright, so we have that. It's not complete yet. Right now you'll notice that it looks slightly off on her face. That's because there's no cast shadow underneath the hair, so we gotta make sure that the hair is casting a bit of shadow on the face. Alright. and casting some shadow on the neck as well. It's always good to have the hair on another layer so you can kind of be flexible with where you want the hair to be and such, because you can go into Ctrl-T, transform and warp and kind of play around with the shape of the hair. Okay, so there we have it. This is our first hair combo. One last thing, gonna flip my canvas to make sure that it looks okay. Yeah, it looks okay. You can also, after you're done, go into image, adjustment, and play around with the settings to see what you like. This is super dark brown hair, super light, and super animu blonde hair. So yeah, feel free to play around with the colors, and there's a lot of other settings for you to play around with, like this one. She has lovely purple hair, green, blue, yeah, all the colors of the rainbow. So feel free to experiment. Once you have a good base of a hair to go on, whether it's pink, brown, blonde, black, you can always go into the image enhancement setting, go into image adjustment, and just play around with those settings. Alright, next up we have this girl right here. I wanted to give her really heavy makeup just to differentiate her from her original base. And for her, I got some reference for curly hair because some of you have suggested that, and I wanted to do a demo on that as well. Okay, so whoops. Let's start off with what we did for this hair. So gotta start off with a silhouette or a hairline. So gonna see the hairline, we'll keep it the same as last time, this type of hairline, and we're gonna paint after that. So let's see, get some inspiration from these references. I want to do something I haven't done before. What if she's got a type of a curly bang going on here, like that, and then here's the tricky part, because it's curly, it's gotta have some hair that's popping out and curls, like this reference here, and curls here as well. So we gotta emulate that. Since I'm not very familiar with curly hair, it's good that I found some pretty good references. I'm just trying to curl that hair based on the reference, and hopefully it'll be curly enough. I noticed that there's a lot of random little strands that's popping out in this reference, and I kind of like it, so gonna try for that as well for my hair. I'm just going to do a lot of random little strands. And here's the hairline. Make sure we don't paint over it. And then we're gonna paint some more curly up here. And I'm alternating between thick and thinner brush sizes, smaller and larger brush sizes, to kind of emulate that nice tapering of the curls. Man, she has a major hairdo disaster going on right now. My character anyways. It looks like that because I only have it on one side. And then maybe curl up a little bit. Make it super crazy. Then of course, want to keep this here. We can have a bit of curl going on. Mostly her curls are on that side. So I gotta make this side a little more crazier. I'm just gonna move the reference over here. Let's go back to the silhouetting. Make sure that we have a very solid silhouette. I kind of like the side bang actually, but I don't know if it works down here, so I'm just erasing the one that oh god, I don't know how to say it. Just thinning out the bottom area, I guess. Let's see what else we could do. Maybe she could have super voluptuous and voluminous hair. I just want to create a general shape. Hopefully it's gonna work. What if it's like that? What if it tapers down here and then she's got the rest of her hair, her very, very curly hair, in a ponytail? Or in some sort of like this. Yeah. And again, we want to kind of create those random small strands to emulate the curliness of her hair. So alternating between thicker and thinner hair strands, making sure that it curls, that we can kind of see the curl here as well. I think this might work. Alright, so we have something here. And again, looking at this silhouette, trying to have similar curls to it. Again, trying to finalize the silhouette with some last minute curls. So now I have a very, very crazy hairdo. It looks like she hasn't brushed her hair in a while right now, but once we get the highlights and everything in, it will look a lot better, hopefully. Alright, so let's start. Since I started off with a brown hair for her, maybe her hair could be red hair. I love red hair. So I'm just going in and painting the base color, which needs to be, well, for this technique anyways, slightly darker than the actual hair that's going to be, the hair color is going to be, sorry. I'm also going to move her down slightly so it's not touching the edges. Actually, her hair is pretty out of control. She needs a lot of space. Going to extend my background color down as well. Alright, so completed the silhouette in one layer. Now let's move on to adding those crazy curls. So right from the start, we'll start with a shadow color, and again the highlight is going to be in this area, so we gotta make sure this area is the most highlighted. So let's start with that. So keep in mind that her hair is super curly. We gotta observe how her hair here, how it works. Just applying the general shadow and highlight. Now for curly hair, it's a little bit more chaotic because you have a lot of strands sticking out. So in that case, we're gonna have to go a little chaotic as well. Just dabble it in here randomly, kind of make sure there's a bit of space in between to create that curly texture. We don't want to cover the whole hair with shadow, this darker color, but we don't want to make it even like we did for the straight hair either, because it's curly and it's chaotic. So we gotta like just dabble randomly everywhere. So now you see that it's starting to feel like it's curly. I'm just going to put her here. Whoops, I think I might need to use a different group for this. So I'm gonna name this girl 02 and name this step 1. Alright, so this is step 1. Alright, so now we have our chaotic curly hair base, which is good. Now we're gonna start to apply some highlights. So again, pick up the lightest color of what we have so far and just move it up a little bit in the color picker to get a highlight color. I'm going to make it slightly oranger. Actually, here would be good. And now using the round brush, gonna start adding some highlight. I really want to make it obvious that the highlight is coming from here, so I'm just going to make this area very clean, like in terms of the frequency and the follow-up of that highlight. But for the other small highlights, I'm just going to start shading, kind of just adding some random little highlights here and there. Actually not random, but kind of close to, you see these little space pockets of slightly lighter color? We're just gonna do that there. So if you zoom out, you can kind of see that it's emulating that sort of messy looking curly hair pattern. So just not random, but not clean highlights either. So here as well. So small patches here and there. Like this. Alright, so now we have a pretty good base for curly hair. And again, just gonna move the step again, indicate it in my step guide so that it'll be easier for you guys to follow. And then let's go back to adding more details. So for this part, we're just gonna use the round brush to blend, and just going to select the colors with my eyedrop tool and gonna blend those two colors in. Now comes the tricky part. So you can see here and here, you'll see that there's a lot of random hair strands popping out here and there, and we're gonna have to capture that if we want to give the impression that the hair is very curly. And I kind of like that her hair here is kind of lighter in certain batches of hair, and it creates a very nice voluminous look. I hope I don't think I said that word right, but you guys know what I mean. So I kind of want to duplicate the same effect where she's got like different strands with lighter colors on it. So just gonna pick that color and make it slightly lighter. And now we're going to observe how it's done here. So you can see it's kind of curls up like this. So let me try something. Whoops. So something like this. So it starts to curl. Right now I'm just kind of adding some of that little detail, the lighter curls, and making sure they look like they curl. And then here as well. Notice that her curls gets lighter as it's near her face. Gonna try to emulate that. And maybe even make her curls lighter on her ponytail as well. You can kind of see that this side, the shadow side, is a lot darker. So we might have to keep it mostly dark. So I'm just going to add just a bit of highlight on the ponytail, because the ponytail will be mostly in shadow. And again, we can kind of offset some of that highlight. And put some highlight here. So now if we zoom out, it's starting to look super duper curly. But wait, it's not done yet. There's still lots more steps. 3, Alright, now we're just going to add the general highlight again using the airbrush and overlay. Select a bright color. As you can see, there's a lot of highlight on the high point of where the light's gonna hit, where the light source will be, so we're just gonna do that. So this is where the high point will hit for her. And you're just gonna have some random highlights here and there. And remember, we have to keep the ponytail slightly in shadow. And also here as well, I'm just gonna put the areas I think is going to be in shadow. And right now, it's looking curly, yes, but gotta fix up some of that curl. And also might have to turn down the saturation slightly. So just a little bit, because it was getting too colorful. Let's continue. Now I'm going to take the little speckle brush right here, and I'm gonna try to add some more hair texture to the look, because right now it's looking very it doesn't feel like it's hair. So I'm just gonna try to kind of apply a bit more hair texture to the whole piece, and just going to mostly blend in some of that roughness with this brush. Hopefully I'll give it that hair look. Here as well, just blending in into the dark shadow of the hair. Make sure you are using the eye drop tool, picking up color and painting over them, trying to blend them in. Here as well. There as well. So now it's starting to feel more like hair. Also gonna try to get in some of those random curls here and there, as well as blending in the highlights and shadows with this brush. It's a lot of work. Just make sure to not overdo it. I would recommend blending in just a small area of every, you see these highlighted curls, just painted in slightly. You still want to see those highlights, but we just want a bit of this texture to show through, so that it looks more like hair. So now we can see that it's starting to look more like hair, and you could also use this brush to kind of add some texture, hair strands that has the hair texture that's standing out, like this. Adding some highlights here and here. and just going through it, adding a bit of highlight here and there with this brush, but again, not to overpower the other highlight and shadow that's already painted on with the other brush. Just want to get a general feeling of this texture throughout her hair, but just slightly. And here as well. Might have to make this brush slightly bigger. And you can adjust the size of this brush to help you blend in some of those details. You can even go crazy by doing this. But now you see it's a little cluttered, so we have to focus on different hair strands because of that. There should always be somewhat of highlight and shadow area everywhere throughout this hairstyle, because since it's curly, it's got a lot of bumps and bulges and dips, so there's a lot of shadow highlight everywhere. That's why painting curly hair is a little bit more challenging than painting the other hairstyles. So now if we zoom out, it's starting to feel more like hair, doesn't it? Gonna take a look again at our reference, see what we could get out of it. So here, as you can see, there's a very strong focus of highlight, especially on the kind of the round part of the curl. It's most concentrated, the highlight is most concentrated near the center of where it rounds off. So let's try to do that. It rounds off here again, still sticking with the same brush. This is where it's most round. Here, 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 here. Okay, now we have a basic mold. Now we can focus on adding more hair strands. After I put the next step on here onto my step sheet, so it's easier for you guys to follow. And then I'll save that. Save this. Create another layer, and we're gonna start to add other little curls and even trying to section off some of this more flat looking area by offsetting some of that highlight. So just starting to add some more curls. And sometimes some curls might not work as others, so we really have to make sure to observe carefully. Offsetting the highlight here. And then get a curl up in here. And then another curl here. At this point, it's just chaos everywhere, trying to get as much curl texture in as possible. Make sure to highlight the center of each curl, like so. Here's the center again. Here, 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 there. And painting in bigger curls to the piece. We still want to get some of that highlight in the center of each curl. So just keep layering highlights and shadows and painting additional curls here and there. Gotta add some highlight here. Okay. So now if we zoom out, Now if we zoom out, we can get a general feeling of those curls. Those lovely, lovely messy curls. Can add some more silhouette. Alright, so there we go. And now we're going to work on that hairline. So of course, as always, I'm gonna try to erase some of that so that it blends in nicely, and top that off with the dot brush. This dot brush right here, and just simulate that hairline. And maybe use the erase tool and just erase a very, very thin line going up like this to show that the hair is connected to the skull, and you can see a bit of the skull underneath. And of course, just gonna go in and kind of add a bit of highlight here, and also blend that in as well. So now if we zoom out, it looks like the hair is attached to the skull now, sort of. And of course, we will need to add some drop shadow underneath the hair so that the face don't look too weird. And I'm just gonna clean up some of my shapes with the erase tool, like so. And gonna create another layer underneath my hair layer and add that shadow in. like this. So now it feels more like her hair is on her head. Just going to erase some of this area. And put this into multiply mode. Alright, she has a lovely set of curls now. Let's see what, oh yeah, let's try to see if we can add a bit of rim light. As always, use the hard found brush, make it a very bright, almost white color, and let's turn the sharp dynamics on and have it set to pen pressure so we get a nice taper. So I'm just going to contour the silhouette here. And have it contour some of the curls as well. But just a bit. Notice that I'm not contouring the whole strand, just parts of it. We don't want to overdo it, we just want to have that bit of highlight to simulate that feeling that there is light behind her head. And it's casting a very strong rim light onto her hair and face as well. So something like this, and if you zoom out, you can kind of get the feeling a lot better. And of course, we can use the erase tool to kind of soften the soft erase parts of the rim light to kind of soften them up. I don't know if you guys hear it, but my tablet's pen is making a squeaky noise. Hopefully it's not too annoying. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, so just keep erasing kind of the two ends of each rim light to kind of fade them in nicely. And now let's take the airbrush and put the mode to overlay. Now it's time to make a bit, make sure it's airbrush, and paint on it very softly to make it glow. Like so. And that'll create a very, very lovely feeling. And once you're happy with it, you can merge it down. Now we can go edit it slightly if we want. If I want the hair to be more intensely red, I could. So I adjust it to my liking. And I'm just gonna finish by putting the final result on the step sheet and save that. We can also add a bit of accessories because I feel like she will look great with some hula hoop earrings. And then here as well. And I'm gonna make it silver. And I'm gonna shade it real fast. and have the shadow on her earlobe. And then I'm gonna kind of just adjust this more. Yeah, it looks alright. Hair always look better, this type of curly hair, with especially this type of hairstyle with some sort of accessory. So I'm just going to paint her a quick necklace. And then maybe even fix her eyes a little bit, because it's a little harsh, I think. Just fixing her eyes up. Maybe we could make her lips slightly bigger. To fit the vibe of her hair and her eyebrows. Like this. More straight. There we go. So that's that for the curly hair. Of course, you guys can keep refining your hair, but the main idea is to just add more random and more curls than how we painted the straight hair. You have to have more of a random feel, and you have to have more highlights and shadow, because curly hair has a lot of curls and dents and dips and such, so they catch more highlight and shadow on their hair, and it's usually at pretty more random spots than the straight hair. So that's how you approach for curly hair. Alrighty, so that's done. Just want to adjust her hair color slightly, see what we can do with it. Well, maybe we can give her like, nice. I actually really like this type of hair, but yeah, you guys can totally experiment with the hair color, because usually the first hair color might not always be the best one for your character, so always play around with the settings, see what looks good and what doesn't. Yeah, I think I like this warmer color a bit more. Alright, so the third hair demo that I'm gonna do for you guys will be on the dude, because we gotta have some gender equality here, and we're going to paint up a nice little haircut for this guy right here, who's got a very, very feminine face. It's because I just took this head and pretty much just changed it slightly. Actually, let me see if I can. And then gonna just make her nose slightly smaller. And now for the guy. So I got 2 pictures. Actually, I think I will make his skin darker. And of course, gotta make the eyes brighter. He's gonna be my dark elf. And gonna play around with the color of his skin slightly. I think this color is fine. Maybe we could just kind of basing it off of, oops. Oopsies. Let's take that and fill this up. Put it onto multiply. Something like this. Alright. So let's start with his hair. I will make his hair white. White hair always goes better with a darker skin tone. And gonna make sure this time the base color is grayish. And of course, let's indicate the hairline. And let's start doing the silhouette. So for the silhouette, he's gonna have a pretty Asian video game type hairstyle. And cover up his head up here. And then maybe have his hair and curl up like this. Again, just trying to figure out the shape of his hair. Actually, let's see if it looks better if one side is covered and the other side's not. Nah, let's go with this one. And maybe without the taper, just standard long hair. Alright, so we have a base that we can work off of. I'm just going to change the background color slightly, because then we can get a better look at the hair. Yeah, everything stands out nicely. Let's do it. So for the hair, I found a pretty good picture of how the light's gonna hit the character. I kind of like how this looks. It's slightly different, like the light source is slightly different than the character I painted, but it still has a very good reference for highlight and shadows. So we're gonna just use that color there. So first off, I'm gonna take a different approach. We're just going to use an airbrush and paint in where the highlight is. And then there's a bit of blue tone down here. And there's white all the way down here. So this approach is most effective if you have a good reference with like how the highlight and shadow appear, like in this picture. And I'm gonna try to emulate that. So right off the start, we already got a good feel of everything. And since white hair don't really have that much highlight and shadow, it's gonna be pretty much about adding those smaller details now. Kind of blending it in at the same time. So I'm just adding the details and also feeling how the hair is going to fall onto his face. So like this. And needs a bit more detail here. Just painting in the hair strand. At this moment, as you see here, the highlight, it's completely white here, and then it kind of blends off into the shadow here. It's got like little hair texture. So now we're going to switch back to our hair brush texture and just imitate that. Have it fade into the hair. And of course we need to add the shadow of that. And let's do a very subtle hint of the dip here. And then we can add a bit of shadow here just to emphasize the highlight here. Gonna put the highlight here as well. So now you see starting to look more like white hair. And of course feel free to add random strands here and there for a more hair-like feel. And just gonna add very, very tiny highlight all around this area. And of course we can then blend it in with the rest of the hair. Again, using the eyedrop tool to kind of pick up that color and putting it down to blend them together. And then this area. Now I've got to erase the hair around the ears. Want to be more accurate about this. This was a slightly faster demo because I had a really good reference and a really good idea of where I wanted the highlight to be at. That's why it was faster than the other demos that we did. And also white hair has less pigments, so there's not much hair color variation. We didn't need to create that much contrast like for the other hair we had to, but for this one it was okay. So now that we have this done, I'm gonna just flip the canvas to see if the hair is good. The hair falls pretty alright on his face. Everything looks logical. Now comes the part where we put shadow underneath the hair, remember? And just going to kind of create a drop down shadow of each of his hair strand. And then gonna lower the opacity. And don't forget the hairline over here. We still need to blend that in, so just pick a darker color because I feel darker color would blend in better with his darker skin. And again, we're just gonna use the erase tool and erase it slightly and use the dot brush to kind of just create more of that hair texture that's kind of merging into his skull like this. And I'm gonna add some random little strands here and also a bit of rim light. But since his hair is already white, it's pretty... just needs a little bit of rim light, not too much. I'm adding some rim light on his face as well. And then... oops. And then put some of that glow again on the rim light. And that's that for this character. You can kind of play around with the color of his skin, see what looks better. I kind of like that purple look. Actually, this color is pretty nice too, the dark gray color. So there you have it. Two very human looking girls and one dark elf. Just for the fun of it. I think I'm gonna make his eyes red. And then have his nose slightly reddish. And there we have it, hair tutorial. We went recap. Let's go to look at what we did. Just a quick recap for you guys. So first off, blocking the shape, a nice shape with some variations between larger tufts of hair and smaller strands. After you finish that, we apply a basic hair texture with the hard round brush, just lightly paint on that hair texture with a kind of a medium-sized round brush. And then we're going to put the highlight on where the light hits the character the most. In this case, it was from top right. So we gotta have it most intense in this area, and then we merge it down into the smaller, the more dark areas, and then we kind of just blend it in with the texture. I mean, the hairbrush, the brush with the little dots, and then here we use the airbrush to kind of just add a general coat of highlight, and here we kind of just went over and added random strands of hair, and then yeah, and cleaned it up a little bit around the side, and last but not least added a bit of rim light around the character. So that's the general gist of it. Just gonna make the background gray so you guys can see the rim light more clearly. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope that was helpful to you guys. Have a great day, guys, and hopefully just keep on practicing with the hair. I know a lot of you struggle with it, but don't give up. Just look up references if you're not sure, and keep trying, because I think learning about how to paint hair is very difficult. I remember when I first started out, I had no idea how to even draw hair. Like, all the hair I drew looked like plastic and super airbrushy. And yeah, it took me a while, but I used some references, looked up some tutorials, and spent days, a month painting. And yeah, in the end I got to this level, and I'm still needing improving, so never stop improving. Hopefully this will help you guys kind of just kickstart how to paint hair, and you guys can take it from there, okay? Alright, take care, guys. See you later.